Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Shortbox. Season 6, yeah.
Yo, Shortbox Nation, welcome to episode 285. I'm your host, Botter Milligan, and I'll be manning this episode solo, but it doesn't mean you won't hear from my amazing co-host very soon. In the meantime, check out Cesar, Ed, and Ashley in our previous episode 284, Frazetta Spotlight, where we dedicated a whole episode talking about the iconic work of Frank Frazetta as part of our Artist Spotlight series. That episode and more is available on your favorite podcast apps. The episode you're about to enjoy this week is all about our Shortbox patrons, the same group of people who help us keep the lights on here at Shortbox Studios by supporting not only the podcast, but many of our other projects and events. I invited a few of them to call into the Shortbox hotline to chat about the comics, video games, books, anime, and other activities they've been enjoying to pass the time in their fortress of solitudes. You'll hear from patrons who are longtime friends of the show, Shortbox alumni, and previous guests talk about anime, comic book recommendations. Some of them are running a business amid this pandemic. Some are helping their communities in these trying times, and you'll also hear about art projects in the works and so much more. If you're interested in participating in our next Shortbox Hotline episode, or you just want access to more Shortbox content like bonus episodes and merchandise, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/theshortbox, and consider supporting the show as a fellow Shortbox patron. A big shout out to everyone that participated in this episode. We appreciate all of you. And of course, a warm thank you to you, the listener who pressed play. Enjoy the show. Shortbox Nation, we've got our first caller on the Shortbox hotline, and she happens to be one of the most passionate advocates for our local libraries, as well as the video game charity organization, Extra Life. Amanda Marin, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Amanda, you are setting the bar for everyone else that follows, but I know you're up for it. I know you're up for it.
Absolutely.
All right, Amanda, I'm looking at your questionnaire that you filled out, and you have a wide, an understatement when I say wide range of material that you're catching up on during isolation and whatnot. And I mean, I see things from novellas to graphic novels to video games and even more. I mean, how are you prioritizing your selections, and what have you got? What have you got in the works?
So, book-wise, I'm usually prioritizing because I do book challenges each year. I realized a few years ago that I wasn't diversifying my reading as much as I felt I should be doing. Mm-hmm. So I do the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge and then the Reading Women Podcast Challenge. And I usually try and find books that can fit like a category for each or whatever. I have my own little way of picking them out. So, I did A Discovery of Witches because I needed a 500-page book by a woman for both. And wow. Everyone's been recommending that to me for years. The library through Overdrive, because I can't go browse the stacks right now, they the second book is still on. I'm waiting for the hold to come through to read the second one in the trilogy. So in place of that, I actually watched the first season of the show too. And I did the first season of the show because it's only like 8 episodes in probably like a day and a half.
Yeah, it sounds about the same frequency I got for shows now. I'm knocking them out in like a day and an afternoon.
Right? So I've been try to find a good balance for my reading of graphic novels as well as books, but then sometimes it leans far one way or far the other. Like last year I was like working out like graphic novels constantly, and I've been on this graphic memoir kick. And then this year it's been more like the novella side of thing until I hit this one huge novel that I did 594 pages in 17 days.
Wow.
Is what the math came out to.
I think for me, 594 pages would equate to 594 days.
Yeah, I haven't done a book that long in a while since like I was really pushing through the Outlander series. So
do these book challenges help keep you accountable? I mean, how does it impact your experience in reading some of these books?
It actually helps you read a lot of books that I probably wouldn't have considered, especially on the nonfiction spectrum.
Yeah.
So there'll be like, I think last year one of my favorite prompts was I needed to read a book published by a woman that was translated from another language that was published before 1945.
Talk about like some super specific, like I don't even know where to start.
Specific. And I found this great book. Oh my God. It's by Irmgard Kuhn. She was in Nazi Germany as the Nazis came to power. And it's basically like almost like a contemporary book of that time of like what general citizens kind of were dealing with as the Nazis came to power and as their whole communities were taken over. And it was just it just kind of, it's like one of those where it just drops you in the middle of the story and you kind of just do that like one chapter of like the characters' lives. But basically I feel like it's really autobiographical because she lived through it. So there's been these really cool, and I would have never thought to have even looked up that book. But when I was looking through like kind of what are my choices in this, because it's so specific, that one just stuck out to me because I lived in Europe for a really long time. And I've been, in Berlin and Budapest and Dresden and all those places where, they've all been affected. So it was just kind of have that mental picture from when I lived overseas was really cool too.
I think I've always struggled with trying to get more nonfiction in my my reading diet. If you'll say, I usually gravitate towards my hobbies outside of comic books. So it'll be like music documentaries or music books or books revolving around like the industry of the comic book industry or music industry. But hearing you talk about some of these challenges or these book challenges, and when I think book challenges, I mean, the last time I've even had to worry about something like that was, back in, middle school and high school, being in Duval, they had, what was it, the 25 book challenge when I was going to school around
like
those
25
times?
over the summer or something.
Yeah, but even then, as a kid, I used to, I used to talk my teachers into letting me just read comic books, and the rule was like every 5 comics equaled a book. So, once I got on the comic books, unfortunately, I kind of put some of the nonfiction reading stuff to the side. So this is pretty interesting to hear that this isn't just a typical book challenge of, hey, just read 50 books. It's, hey, every book or every whatever it is week, we're going to give you guys certain parameters to follow.
Yeah, there's prompts, and there's a ton of them out there too. All sorts of different book challenges. So if like the 2 that I do that someone might not be interested in those, there's one's built for everybody, which I think is really cool. And then they all usually have groups and like little forums on Goodreads. So like if I'm kind of struggling trying to figure out like a book for a prompt, I'll go to like the little thread about that specific prompt and see what other people have suggested, and then kind of look.
Cool.
I don't know if that one or.
So there's a community aspect to it too, then. So okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I could see that being a big motivator to knock these books out, staying true to the challenge and whatnot.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I also see that you're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. How has I imagine there is a ton of people on those servers and whatnot. How's the experience been?
Oh yeah. So I have been, and here goes more of my geekery because this is what we do. I have been part of like a gaming clan since like 2008 or 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Where we kind of went a little defunct after like game battles kind of petered out, but I still play with like this group of dudes from Dallas, Texas that like they're the dudes that like whenever I played competitively, I'm like, I want to play like those guys. And so I still play with them all the time because I always do a lot. I feel like I do a lot better when I'm with them. I'll take more risks rather than kind of like sitting out, camping out, waiting for somebody. I'll go we play a lot of domination. I'll go run for B and grab it while one of them's like overwatching and we work all it out. It's fun. But they just actually gave us Battle Royale in Call of Duty.
Oh, nice.
Because I had a lot of struggle with, I don't like Fortnite. I don't like PUBG. I liked Apex. I played Apex with them when I got back on the Xbox and I was moving last year. I played a ton of Apex with them last year and we were just kind of waiting for Call of Duty to come back out. And then with this, it's so like, I love it.
Dang.
Like, it's like, I'm a big, Infinity Ward fan. I don't like, so you've got Infinity Ward and you've got Treyarch. Treyarch does the Black Ops series and Infinity Ward does the Modern Warfare series. And they're all under Activision's umbrella.
I'm definitely.
So
I was gonna say I'm definitely envious when it comes to hearing individuals like gamers like yourself who have like that community aspect too. Because I'm so trash at online games like Call of Duty. Like I need to go ahead and play it like 1-on-1 or just by myself, so I can be very slow and I take my time with like aiming and things like that. So I try to avoid playing online because I am just so like trash at it. But it sounds like you have some really strong players that you're probably learning a bunch. You probably like picked up really quick.
Yeah, I haven't played like at this where I was considered this level in quite a few years because we actually used to play competitively with Modern Warfare 2. And I actually played that when I was stationed in Sicily. So here I am like getting up at 1 a.m. or 1:30 in Sicily to be online so that I could play with them for like an hour on our game battles, whatever night of the week it was. So
talk about some dedication.
Yeah.
All right,
it's always been really cool.
Mandy, I'll go ahead and sign you off with this, only because I wanted to bring this up when I think about, like I said, when I think of your name, I definitely, there's no way I can't think about your influence on me to pursue like getting a library card as an adult and utilizing all the free services they got. And of course, one of those being Hoopla, which you introduced me to. And I've been using it to this day. I know Drew is a big advocate of it. What have you checked out via Hoopla?
Lately, because I haven't been on the graphic novel side of things right now, just because I don't know, I go back and forth all the time. But my latest, I'm actually working through the Old Man Logan by Jeff Lemire.
That is a good run.
Finally.
Really good run.
And then what was my other one that I was doing? There was a really great graphic novel, Genderqueer by Maya, I think it's Kobabe. I've been on this crazy graphic memoir kick. A lot of that goes along with trying to even out some of the book challenges, but like, I don't know, a lot of them, because when you can actually visually see what they're telling you, especially when they're telling you their own story, I feel like it's so more poignant. Like I'm a huge fan of the March series and George Takei's new book. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Isn't it like they came for us, or
They Called Us Enemy?
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the other one I did earlier this year off they had it on Hoopla, but I think I actually checked it out from the library because I just wanted the book. It was called Meal, and it's by another non-binary author called Blue Delaquanti. And it's fiction, and it's definitely meant more for like YA, but one of the prompts was to read about a cuisine that you've never eaten or you've never had. And I was like, I've been kind of like a good chunk all over the world. What haven't I had? It's all about the delicacy of insects of all things. And like a chef who's like creating their restaurant in like San Francisco or something, and their whole menu is based around insects. And it's about like this one sous chef who's trying to get in to impress like the head chef so that they can work for them. And I thought it was like a really cute, cool little book. I zoomed right through it within like a day.
Yeah.
It was great.
That sounds like a hell of a premise. That's actually really interesting premise, to be honest. Well, Mandy, I think that is all the time I've got. I've got another caller dialing in. As always, it's always a pleasure hearing from you and hearing about the different books that you're reading. It's always like a sure shot that you're going to have hella range when it comes to like the different topics and things you're reading. So I'm glad you didn't disappoint. Yeah, appreciate you calling. I'll chat with you soon, all right?
All right, sounds great.
All right, next up is a longtime supporter and frequent emailer, Mr. Joshua Pickett. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
Not a problem, man. How you doing?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. Josh, you wrote in saying that you've been revisiting older stuff from your collection. I'm not going to lie, I've been feeling pretty nostalgic myself for older material, including things like Crisis on Infinite Earth I started revisiting, as well as Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation. What older material have you been revisiting? Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox Store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
It's actually funny you guys just dropped that Crisis episode, and I'm halfway through that right now.
How are you liking it?
And I haven't read it in a long time. Honestly, I remember liking it better back then. But it is a very important story in the DC universe, and so I figured I'd just read it again. And then I've also been reading some of the old Marvel Comics Presents stuff with Peter David and Sam Keith. Good stuff.
Dude, man, that is... I remember my pops had a ton of those books, and as a kid, I just didn't know how they fit into the grand scheme of the Marvel Comics world.
Right,
it wasn't until much older that I realized a lot of them were. I mean, it was essentially an anthology story, right? Or an anthology series.
Yeah, there was 3 or 4 stories in every book, and halfway through you would have to flip it over and turn to the other side of the book.
Yep. I remember a Colossus story, which was super rare because I love Colossus, and then I think that was the same series that had that Black Panther story that was real popular. What was it called? Panthers? Was it Panther's Quest? I think
it might be.
Which ones are you reading?
And also, of course, that's where the Weapon X stuff came from, was in the Marvel Comics Presents. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some iconic stories that came out of that anthology series. Which ones have you been reading specifically?
It's the Blood Hungry one where they introduced that character Cyber that was kind of like Wolverine.
Yeah. AKA Marvel's Jax from Mortal Kombat.
Pretty much, yeah. You got the enemy on his outside, yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. What else are you reading?
I actually picked up a while ago on Amazon. I got an absolute Batman the Black Mirror, which has been sitting in my shelf for a while, and so I'm finally going to dust that off. So that was Snyder. Yep, and I believe
Jock, right?
Yeah. And Jock made that one cover that is way too expensive for anybody to afford now.
Is it? Are you talking about that Joker cover where it's made up of all the different bats?
Yeah, that's the one.
And I think that was the same story that I remember on a Fat Man on Batman interview episode. Scott Snyder was talking about how that story really helped him get the enough popularity to get the offer to write Batman for DC New 52, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. And you're also like rewatching things like, or you're on Shudder as well, right?
Oh yeah, this is me and some of my friends have been picking a random, usually 70s or 80s horror movie off Shudder, and then just kind of Mystery Science 3000 it with text to each other the whole time. So just basically cracking on these old crazy movies.
Oh no, that's fun stuff, man. So, do you have any recommendations for anyone that's probably looking for something on Shudder to watch?
Well, Shudder and Prime. On Prime, there's one called Sorority Bimbos and the Slime Ball Bolorama. Absolutely hysterical. And there's one called Brain Damage on Shudder. That's actually really funny too. It gets a little gruesome, but it's still pretty funny.
Tell me more about this Bimbo show, because that is a great headline.
Oh man! So like these sorority girls break into a bowling alley as kind of their initiation for the sorority, and they break a bowling trophy, and a goblin pops out and grants them wishes, but they all turn messed up, and it's hysterical.
That is awesome, because when I think about where can I find a gremlin that'll grant me wishes, I definitely think any bowling alley on the west side.
Right. Yep.
Josh, you also had a predicament and you were hoping that maybe some listeners out there in Shortbox Nation might be able to rise to the occasion, maybe help you out in your moment of need.
Sure.
What's going on, buddy?
I work for a company called the Arc of St. John's, and we provide services for folks with developmental disabilities, basically caring for them in their homes. And we need PPE. We need the gloves. We need the masks. We need the sanitizer, all that kind of stuff. Just to make sure we keep our staff safe and our guys safe. We got about 77 people that we're caring for right now. We got to keep everybody safe.
And where can people, if we've got...
Oh, yeah, that might help. if you look us up, if you go to our website, www.arcsj.org, you can find our contact information there, and anybody that may be out of work right now, because I know the struggle is real. If you've got experience working with adults or children in any kind of setting, please go over there and fill out an application. Man,
who says that, the Short Box don't have our listeners' best interests at heart? I mean, look,
there we go.
We out here helping people get jobs.
Exactly. I know it's rough, man.
That's good stuff. No, I appreciate it, Josh. And for anyone listening, just to echo what Josh has said, his company is in need of PPE. They're working with individuals, and safety is definitely a concern. So if you've got any leads or sources that maybe you can pass on to Josh, that website again was www.arcsj.org.
That's right. And you can probably find us on Facebook too, the Arc of the St. John's.
Sounds good. Josh, go ahead and sign off, man, and give us one thing that you want to champion outside of some of the titles that you already mentioned.
Actually, I just watched a movie called Crawl. Actually, Tarantino said it was his favorite movie of 2019. I don't know if it was the best movie of 2019, but it was pretty darn good.
Man, that's good enough, buddy. That is good enough. Josh, as always, man, this was fun. Don't be a stranger. I wish you and your company the best. And hopefully, man, we'll be talking to you soon. All right, dude, stay safe.
All right, thanks. Stay safe, everybody.
All right, making her short box debut, and certainly not her last, we've got the kick-ass owner of Darby's Dungeon. The shiny new tabletop gaming lounge is on the call with us. I'm talking about Miss Darby Herbin. Hey, Darby.
Hello.
Hey. Darby, it doesn't surprise me that you wrote that you want to champion board games and EdBot, because when it comes to supporting everyone involved with Shortbox, especially Ed, you are a shining example, Darby. And I think it's well overdue that we put a spotlight back on you, because you do so much for the community. Will you do us the honor of introducing your business that you just launched, and how's the reception been so far?
Yeah, sure. So Darby's Dungeon is a tabletop gaming lounge. We specialize in open gameplay, so the focus isn't nearly as much on the retail as it is on, people coming in and playing games with their community. We offer beer and wine and coffee to enjoy while people play their games. But of course, right now, at this very moment, we are pivoted, aka adapting to a very different kind of business model, just, because of COVID, that thing. But yeah, the reception's been excellent so far, even with the pivoting that we've done.
Yeah, I've been following you, of course, on social media. It looks like you guys are doing the curbside pickup and just adapting as best as you can. And I'm really happy to see like you guys are getting that business and people are stopping by and picking up board games. What are some of like the best sellers? Have you noticed like a trend in any, whether it's like genre or certain brand or company of board games that are selling?
Sure. I can't seem to keep Quacks of Quedlinburg in stock. Like every time I get it, it just like it's sold out like in a week, maybe week and a half. Outside of that, Azul has been a really good seller. But yeah, Quacks is like a game where you're like, you're making potions and you're trying not to put in like the wrong ingredients and your potion like explode in your face. But yeah, like it's competitive, 4 players, and maybe up to 5.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it's a really cute, fun game.
Darby, what are some of your favorite like board games, whether you carry them or not, and whether they're old or new? I mean, what are some of the titles that are near and dear to you?
Oh my gosh. My absolute favorite has been Azul. This guy, the creator of it, lives here in Jacksonville over in Orange Park.
Oh, that's cool.
And after, we get through COVID and stuff, he's actually going to come out to the shop and do some demos of his game. And I'm like so pumped. I'm going to try not to like fangirl or anything. Just be like, yes, I am a professional.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame you. You're a fangirl.
Right. It's so bad. I'm the worst at the trade show, but I could just freak out. Like I sent you some pictures from the trade show, like the ones that I thought that you and Cesar would be interested in.
No, they look good, and I'm sure it goes without saying that this was. Because I mean, you launched Arby's Dungeon around November, December timeframe.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all of this happened. So I'm sure it's way less than ideal. But I guess, like I said, I've seen that you've adapted to the curbside pickup. You've kind of done a lot of the things that I've seen other companies kind of try to do to keep the foot traffic and just business going. Are there any other challenges that has required like very creative solutions for you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. For the first 2 weeks, I think I spent 90% of that in a like frantic like sweat, like just like oh god, what am I gonna do next? And that dog sitting at the kitchen table with the coffee, and the kitchen's all burning down, and he's like, "This is fine, 100%." Yeah. That was me. But I went to that trade show that I was talking about, and the day before I left, I get the email saying that everything is shutting down in Jack's Beach, and all of my events were getting canceled, and I had just spent thousands of dollars with my different distributors and publishers getting stock for those events. And I was just like, fuck, what am I going to do?
Wow.
And I slept on it, and then I came up with a plan. As soon as my plane landed here in Jacksonville, I hit the ground running and called up some people. We threw paint up on the wall. We got some shelving up. We just we made the mess hall happen. 3 months before it was supposed to happen. Because while we've been operating since like April, actually today marks 1 year that we've been operating, but we've been operating through events. Like that's how we have been making our income. And with the build out, like right there on the horizon, like these events are so incredibly important because it's like, you know, I'm not going to lie, be totally transparent. I mean, it's $140,000 build out. Like,
wow.
Not chump change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we definitely need like those events. So we just made it happen. And then we got the news that we made it happen with our community. I definitely want to shine a huge light on that. Like our buddies, Kyle and Latuan and
two of my favorite
Austin
people.
and Anthony, like they all came out. God, I'm gonna forget somebody. Ernest.
I will. I'll chime in and say. I'll chime in and say that I think the business Darby's Dungeon. It is a shining example of the power of community. And especially like here in Jacksonville, because I mean you're working with a lot of individuals that help out in GAM and help out in Extra Life and help out in a ton of the other kind of events related to kind of pop culture and the nerd events. So it's definitely heartwarming to see that these individuals are coming to your aid and ensuring that you can still keep the business running and that the reception has been what it is so far. Like I definitely commend you, Darby, you and the team.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, this shop is really, I mean, yeah, it's me doing something that I'm super passionate about, and getting to bring something to the community that I know other people like really want to do, but maybe don't have the means to do it. Mm-hmm. But like still including all of those people so they feel like they're a part of it, because this is just as much for them as it is for me. Like, I don't remember. Do you remember 5 Points Coffee and Spice back in the day in Riverside?
Yes, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I used to go there whenever I was in college, and like that was our nerdy meetup, like epitome. Like we would go hit superheroes over off the post.
Yeah.
And we would hang out at 5 Points Coffee and Spice. Like it was my jam in college. And then it went away. And just as I've, got older and stuff, like I'm just like, we need something like that again, like a haven, not just for like the hardcore, like gaming nerds, like they have card shops, they can go play Magic somewhere. But like for all of the other people that like tabletop RPGs and board games, just chilling and just like, I don't know, not having to go to a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a huge inspiration.
Well, I'm glad that you brought Darby's Dungeon to the community, and I'm glad that you are such an advocate of that, just that community aspect and having people come under one roof and enjoy those type of things. Darby, how about you go ahead and let our listeners know, where people can reach out, where people can buy some games from you, and just everything they need to know about Darby's Dungeon.
Absolutely. Our full stock of of inventory is on our Facebook page. So if you go there and hit the shop button, you can see everything that we have. You can place orders by giving me a call, 904-368-6660. Again, 904-368-6660. You can also shoot me a direct message. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you could just show up. You're not allowed in the shop, but you can show up, see what you can see, ask questions. Like I said, we do curbside pickup. I'm here every day from 12 to 10. And we also do free delivery for, people local.
Hell yeah. Darby, I appreciate you calling in. I wish you the absolute best. I know that if anyone can do it, it is you. You've just got that that drive and that spirit. And we'll definitely talk soon and see how the short box can be involved with Darby's Dungeon, okay?
Yeah, this is great. I'm so happy that you did this, Botter. I think this is a great idea, calling the fans and stuff. That's awesome.
I appreciate that, Darby. Thank you so much. All right, I'll talk to you later, all right?
All right, take care. Bye.
Short Bikes Nation, you might recognize this next voice from one of our previous episodes, episode 267, Raunchbaum, to be exact, when he joined us to talk about zines. Well, he's called in today to chat with us once more. I'm talking about Tony A. Uppy. He's on the call, and it's always a pleasure when you decide to grace us with your presence, brother. Welcome.
Hey, good to hear a familiar voice. We're social distancing 6 blocks apart.
Yeah, right, friends. Oh my God, that beautiful sound is the sound of friends, actual, physical, real friends.
Yes.
Tony, man, feels good to hear from you, dude. Tony, I'm looking at your response to the questionnaire, and as always, you are a man of impeccable taste. So you know I got a huge grin on my face right now, reading that you're giving Immortal Hulk a chance. Honest response, man. Is it as good as we've been hyping it up the past, 5, 10, 15 episodes we've been talking about Immortal Hulk? How are you liking it so far?
Yeah. So I read the first 20 issues. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's so good. So especially the first 10, I thought like 11 to 15, it lulled a little bit, but the last 5 issues were the most terrifying, I think, that I've read in like a Marvel book. Mm-hmm. And just Hulk keeping like the way Hulk is back to being a horror comic.
Yeah, right.
Man, it's some of the best stuff I've been reading.
And I've to echo what you said about the first 10. I think for me the first 10 was a wake up call. I kept asking myself, I'm reading a Hulk comic? Like, I am reading an ongoing Hulk series, and it doesn't feel like any Hulk that I've read prior. And then it just feels like, and maybe that's where like from 15 on through 20 and whatnot, I think from there, I just kept asking myself, what the hell am I reading? Because every issue just kept pushing the envelope for like horror elements and just things that I've never seen anyone do with the Hulk.
Yes. Yeah. Like they really make them monsters.
Yeah. So, I recommend anyone who's listening that has heard us preach about Al Ewing and Bennett's Immortal Hulk series, give it a shot, especially if you're into horror comic books. It is a pleasant surprise of how they go about it. Tony, you also made mention here that you are working on drawing 100 portraits. What has possessed you to do 100 portraits?
So I personally am wanting to draw because I want to make do my own attempt at a comic. And so I figured to kind of play with process and to kind of to bone up on my drawing skills that I would just do, I said 100 portraits. And so I think the first 30 of them, they were all just drawn images that I was picking up from the library before it shut down. I had gotten like old movie books, old sci-fi and old like Universal monsters and some hero books. So I was like pulling images from those. And then I just started asking folks to send me pictures of them, so friends of mine. So through Instagram and Facebook, people have been sending me images. I'm also looking at like baseball. I'm really into baseball, especially baseball from like the 80s and 90s. And so I'm just pulling all these different image sources to try to play with different drawing, like different inkings and different approaches to making work. So some of them are just straight ink, but some of them are ink and then painting. Some of it's like printmaking. So I'm just really trying to play around so I can actually make a thing.
And I think you've been posting your progress pics in a lot of these portraits so far on your Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Where's that at? Tony _AUP?
Yes.
Okay, so that's AUIPPY for anyone interested. Have you?
Yeah.
And Tony, I don't know how many people know this, but you also teach, printmaking and zines and just general kind of art classes at UNF. Have you assigned any similar homework to any of your students, or how's it been going the remote route with the classes and whatnot?
Yeah. So this semester I'm teaching gallery practices, so that's hard in itself. But some of my zine students are in that class, and I saw a couple of things online, just people making quarantines, so like personal takes on
That's a great
quarantine.
Name for them.
Yeah. And so we're kind of like just doing that as a side thing. And so I'm actually making a like Adventures in Quarantine comics page right now. But there's other people, and I know Lindsay and Dawn, like they've been posting a few things on like submitting to a Northeast Florida quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Tony, man, you just represent like this like very pure DIY comic book love, and I love hearing like the type of projects you've got in the works.
Thanks.
In regards to, because I'm thinking back to that episode 267 Raunch Bomb, I think you had mentioned that at that time, at least, your students were finalizing like their last project, which was creating a zine of their own. And I think you had mentioned a plan to combine all of them into an anthology, and then having that available at the Jax Public Library. Did that ever come into fruition? Is that something that people can look forward to when we're able to kind of be out and about?
Yeah, there's a box set of 28 zines.
Oh, that's cool.
So you just go and you check out that box, and you take home or to borrow 28 zines. Some of them some of them are my materials, so my lessons and my syllabus that are zines, and then all the students' zines.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So they kind of get a feel and like a little sampling of what it was like to be in your class working on this project.
Yes.
That is cool. Man, Tony, you're such a giver. You are such a giver, dude.
Well,
Tony,
thank you.
I also I got to mention this one last thing, but I wanted to bring this up before I got off the phone with you. I see that you're reading Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire.
Yes.
And I want to say Lemire took over Moon Knight. And I mean, this is a series that was what came out like not too long ago. It was like 2016, 2017-ish time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say his series came out, he took over the series right after Warren Ellis. But and I think that's the series of Moon Knight I recently read. I kind of missed the Lemire train, but I've heard when it comes to like Moon Knight series and just Moon Knight stories that get recommended between the Warren Ellis and this Lemire run, those have been highly recommended lately. How are you enjoying it?
The Lemire run, because I dropped out of Moon Knight for so long, and the art on the cover just looked really great. So
God, yeah.
The Lemire run is really interesting because they have a couple different artists' takes. So the artwork suits the different personalities that he's taken on. And to see how they intersect with each other, and then towards the end, I won't give it away, like how that final style brings everybody together as Moon Knight is battling his inner self. I wasn't expecting that when I was reading that, but that was pretty good.
Cool stuff, man. Yeah, you got some cool things you're reading and working on. So I'm excited to kind of continue following you on social media and seeing how things go.
Yeah. Thanks, Potter.
Yeah, dude, brother, this was fun. Don't be a stranger. I'm sure I will see you as I'm riding my bike down your street.
Yeah.
And dude, thank you so much for your support, dude. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yes, I'll see you soon.
All right, dude. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, Shortbox Nation, this next caller is a staple when we talk about longtime Shortbox alumni, frequent emailers, and supporters. He made his first appearance and everlasting impression on Walt, if I do say so myself, back in episode 25, an episode from long ago when the podcast was still finding its feet in 2013. I'm talking about the one and only Thomas Panditch. Welcome, good sir. Hello, Tom.
Mr. Milligan. How are you, sir?
Dude, I was waiting on that. I'm good now. I'm really good now, man. It's good to hear from you, dude.
Yeah.
Tom, you had, out of all the responses I got from the questionnaire I sent out for this episode, I think your response had me laughing the most when, in response to, how have you been staying busy during isolation? You responded, man, is it bad to say drinking?
Well, I just cracked open a Hanalei Island IPA. At Publix, at least. How quick is this episode going up?
It'll go up this Wednesday. So what is that?
All right. Well, you'll have one day to get to Publix and do the buy one, get one free on, forget Kona Brewery beers. So, yeah.
And I was going to, in response to your comment, I was going to say, look, dude, it's never bad to claim drinking as a hobby as long as you're responsible with it. What are some...
Yeah, I mean, with the lockdown, I've been drinking only at home, so...
Yeah. What are some...
there's nothing to do other than that.
What are some of the other spirits or brands that you've called onto this during this time?
That's the thing. Spirits really don't do that much for me. Even though I am one of, outside of Shaggy Black, probably... one of the best-known drinkers in Short Box Nation. Not trying to call him out there.
No, dude, call him out.
I stick to beer mostly.
Yeah. And and I won't lie, every time we have Shaggy Black, I mean, he typically kind of brings some new brew or some new beer or IPA or something for us to try. So anytime he brings those, I'm always curious to know if you're listening and if you recognize the brands that he brings on. I know a lot of the things he brings are like Gooseneck and all that.
Yeah. You mean Goose Island?
Goose Island, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So yes, I do recognize what he's bringing most of the time. How have you been, B?
I have been well, dude. Aside from trying to keep the stir crazy at bay, I have been using this time to enjoy the new spot as well as finally catch up on my stacks and stacks of comics, my giant growing list of movies to watch and video games I've had on the back burner. I imagine you've been doing the same.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading. A lot of these things called light novels, which is what a lot of anime is based on these days. Easiest way to describe a light novel is just sort of like sort of an older teen type of fiction that's geared towards Japanese high schoolers. But basically a lot of things that have come out recently have been based on these things called light novels. And a lot of them are being released in English now.
What are some of the titles? What are the names of some of the titles?
Well, I'll go back a little bit. Did you ever hear about this show called The Devil is a Part-Timer?
Hell of a title, though.
So the thing is that usually you see like the regular Japanese kid get transported to like a fantasy land or something like that. This one works in reverse, where the demon lord, after being defeated by heroes, gets transported to modern day Japan. And to avoid starving, he works at McDonald's.
So the struggle is real.
Can you believe there are 15 books on this shit?
Yeah, the struggle is real, but I didn't know it was 15 volumes worth.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Other things, that time I got reincarnated as slime, pretty popular, just had a decent run. Pretty new anime, and season 2 for that's coming out pretty soon. Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is an older one that a lot of people like.
What's it called?
The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. If you went to the AnimeCon like in the mid 2000s, this was unavoidable. Things like Full Metal Panic, also based on light novels, are recently receiving translations, and then just a lot of other things. I mean, right now, this website called J Novel Club, j./novel.club, has a 30-day free trial and about 60 or so volumes, which is like volume 1 through volume 3 of a bunch of different series that you can read till the end of the month.
Oh, wow.
So if you're looking for some free reading right now, just trying to get into some stuff, I'd recommend checking that out.
So... And I've never heard of that that reading subscription service. I was talking to Walt, speaking about like manga subscription services. I was talking to Walt last week, and he had mentioned that he had just signed up for the Shonen Jump subscription because it's just like what, $3 a month or something to that.
Shonen Jump is the best deal in comics. It's $2 a month.
Oh wow!
And even if that isn't good enough, the first 3 chapters of every, not every, but like a good portion of manga that you want to read is free, and the latest 3 chapters are free. Now, the thing that's weird about it is there's 100 chapter per day daily reading limit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you have your Naruto, you have your Dragon Ball Super,
is that still
have your
going?
One Piece, and then you have newer things like Chainsaw Man, which is a hell of a crazy manga.
Huh? Is Dragon Ball Super still going in the manga?
The thing with Dragon Ball Super is that the manga and the anime are wildly different.
Yep.
I don't know who's writing the manga right now, but they get through the whole like universe-ending tournament by like the end of the 6th volume. So they're covering brand new stuff right now that
cool.
has not ever been animated. Now, Akira Toriyama, the mangaka, the author, like writer and artist of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, is not doing that. I think he's only consulting on that. I think they come out with a new chapter every month or so.
Okay. Yeah, because when I started watching Dragon Ball Super, that kind of revitalized my love of Dragon Ball Z. So I was reading the manga on a weekly basis, and it was really fun to kind of spot the differences between the two. And to your point, like sometimes they, it was so condensed in the manga, but then I watched the anime, and it's like, wait, why are we still on this? Like this was, finished in half a story.
I mean, Dragon Ball Z. I mean. Planet Namek took 40 episodes to blow up after Frieza zapped it for 2 minutes.
Yeah. When I think about
time dilation shit.
When I was when Walt brought up Shonen Jump, I mean, I immediately thought about when Shonen Jump really got big and made its way over here, which I think I was for sure like in maybe early high school, maybe late high school. It might have been like sophomore, junior
like
year.
early 2000s when they started during kind of a manga boom.
Yep, and it was like all of the popular animes that were getting big. So I mean, there was Dragon Ball Z. I remember the Yu-Gi-Oh was in Shonen Jump, and that was a hell of a difference when you want to talk about like difference between what the anime was showing and what the manga was. So I'm curious to see how much it's changed. Like how much of the titles I'd recognize now.
A lot of newer stuff has just started. Like they just cleared out some older titles to start some newer things. Then there are titles that are available digitally first that never make print in the magazine. So a perfect example of that is One Punch Man. That's manga that's digitally available first. Comes out every 14 days or so. A chapter can be anywhere from 18 to 56 pages, depending on what's going on.
Okay.
And they are just about at the end of the thing that they were finishing up in season 2. So if you wanted to check out more One Punch Man, there's a second season. I don't know if it aired on Cartoon Network yet, but it's available on Hulu right now.
Okay, and I've got Hulu.
It kind of leaves off at a cliffhanger, and the manga from there picks up pretty much exactly where that cliffhanger is.
Okay, cool. I guess, Tom, to wrap us up, man, do you want to champion or recommend any animes that maybe you haven't already mentioned so far?
I've got 2 right now, and one for the GAM crew, one for older anime fans who have kind of fallen out of it.
Hit it.
So I'll keep this to Netflix and Hulu so you don't have to subscribe to Crunchyroll or anything.
My man.
On Netflix, there's a show called High Score Girl, which just put up its 2nd season. Now, this is about a Japanese kid who's like 6 or 7 who loves going to arcades. And the cool thing about this is that it's all real arcade games. And like they took people who were super good at fighting games to show like the Street Fighter 2 footage or the Final Fight footage or the Virtua Fighter footage.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 2 seasons of that. First season's very good. And there's kind of like a weird love triangle thing in it. But if you're like a video game head, it's cool to check out. The other thing I wanted to recommend is I'm going to talk to you about a little show you may have heard of. It's called Sailor Moon.
Yeah, dude, classic.
Yeah, classic. The thing about Sailor Moon is that it came out in the U.S. pretty heavily edited, with all the Japanese names changed and stuff like that. There's a full season of Sailor Moon that never got released in the U.S. Now, the thing is, Viz has the rights to it. They have redubbed the entire show and released all 200 episodes, including the 5th season called Sailor Stars, that never came out in the U.S. So if you want to get some nostalgia going on, Sailor Moon on Hulu, all 200 episodes of Sailor Moon is available. And, you know, I'm just trying to give a wide variety of stuff. I could get into a lot of stuff if there's other shows people want to know. I'm watching a lot more than that. But I figured those are good entry points. And, you know, 200 episodes, say 30 episodes of High Score Girl, that's enough to keep you occupied if you're looking for something a little different.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. And I took some notes myself too, man. So I'm gonna probably check out this Shonen Jump. I didn't know it was that cheap. And to your point,
Shonen Jump is $2 a month. It's the best deal in comics, American or otherwise.
Yeah, I can't think of any other subscription service doing anything like that. And I mean, the sheer amount of things you get exposed to just from Shonen Jump.
You've got all of Dragon Ball, you've got all of One Piece, you got all of Naruto, you got newer things like One Punch Man, and Chainsaw Man is a wicked comic that if you're looking for the next big thing. There hasn't been an anime announced, and they haven't started releasing trade paperbacks of it, but Chainsaw Man is out of this world.
Hell yeah, you sound excited. I'm going to have to check that out. Tom, I appreciate you hopping on the call, man. Like, anytime I get a chance to talk to you, I usually leave like some pretty good recommendations and homework, brother.
B, it is a pleasure to talk to you.
Always.
Take care of yourself, bud.
You too, dude. Give my best to Greg, all right? Peace.
Will do.
All right, Shortbox Nation. Our last, and certainly not least, guest for today is someone who recently became a Shortbox patron. She holds a special place in my heart and happens to be the reason I even got into Game of Thrones, and can claim to even have an iota of sports knowledge. I'm talking about my lady, Blythe Brumleve. She's actually here in Shortbox Studios to help us close out today's episode.
Hey.
Blythe, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I walked a whole 10 feet for this.
So because I've been sharing the same space with you, none of these answers come as a surprise to me, but you listed in your questionnaire that you've been staying busy by revisiting classic video games like Jak 2 and the Retro Gamer handheld system.
Yes.
In addition to annoying me, your words, not mine, you've been watching The Feed on Amazon Prime, and you've been reading a book on the ancient lost civilizations of the Americas called America Before by Graham Hancock, for anyone interested. What is it about the Jak franchise that has you revisiting the second one? I think that was the biggest surprise when I asked, hey, what do you want to play? And you said Jak 2 of all games.
Well, I think it's more familiarity around this time because either you're not with, you know, the global pandemic going on and all, I think it's either you're trying something new or you're revisiting something that you can just quickly pick up and play. And I think that was more of the angle for me, is just finding a game that I already was familiar with and then to just pick it up and just start playing. I don't have to learn any new buttons or controls or anything like that. And I wouldn't feel guilty about putting it down and not playing it for a week, because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I've seen a trend from some of the previous calls that everyone's kind of... there's a little bit of new stuff sprinkled in of like, hey, I've been meaning to catch up on this, but it's been a majority of, I'm revisiting old stuff. And I think there is something to the aspect of just familiarity and just, I don't know, something like warm and cozy.
It's like
kind of like comfort food. Yeah, comfort food, you know? But so what was it about Jak that made you a fan?
It was just one of those franchises when I was younger, because I consider the PlayStation 2 as one of the top consoles of all time, maybe the top console of all time. And for me, that was one of the first franchises that really grasped me after the Nintendo days, the younger Nintendo days. So that was one of the first ones, and I played, all three in the series. I think there's another one that's like a racing game, but I never really got into that one. But for those who don't know, that is also the start of one of the bigger game developers in the country, Naughty Dog. They make the games Uncharted, The Last of Us, which are highly regarded. They have a lot of awards for those franchises, but they got their start with the Jak and Daxter franchise. And I think that's really where you sort of learn the story building aspect of a game versus what is now in the market as dominated by multiplayer online.
I remember, I think, and I'm not sure if I'm making up this, division in my head, but I remember I was not really into like Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank, but my brothers loved Ratchet and Clank. I don't know if they played Jak and Daxter as much. So in my head, I built that division of either you were playing Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter because they seem so similar.
I think they were very familiar or very similar in that regard, but I do remember being younger and picking up Jak and Daxter first and then hearing about Ratchet and Clank, and I'm like, that's a ripoff. I totally thought it was like a Wario situation. I'm like, that's not even worth my time. I'm sticking with the franchise that I like.
So another thing you've, among the many things you've introduced me to, one of the more fascinating retro nostalgic things is this retro gamer handheld system, and I won't forget the day that you busted that out when I think it was like when you were the one that got me the Super Nintendo Classic, right?
Yes.
When you gave me that, I was getting really into that, but there were some games on there that it didn't come with the stock, and you were like, "Oh, I've got that in cartridge," and I was like, "Well, what use is that? We're not going to be able to play that."
First of all, I still have the original systems. They're over in storage, but I still own them, and I own a lot of games specifically for Super Nintendo. And the Retro Gamer is great because you can actually take these cartridges and put them right into the handheld system and play the games like you would on a normal console. And the difference between a Super Nintendo Classic and the Retro Gamer is that the Classic it's fun, but it's still missing some of those aspects of even the cheat codes. You can't do any of the cheat codes on some of those games. You can't really save your I think you can save your progress. It might just be a little bit limited. But I just remember playing the Super Nintendo Classic and it just feeling like it's fine, but it's not the actual real game environment, if that makes sense. Kind of. You can probably just squash everything I just said, but...
Well, I know that the Nintendo Classic save state, they actually save exactly... there's no need to find a save point or enter a code. It'll just save whatever frame that you decide to save it in, as far as I know. As far as the cheat code input, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can't.
There might be certain...
I know for sure you can't do it on that. And you can't, with games like Mario Kart, you can't do the boost. If you press the Y button at a certain point before the light turns green, you can't get the boost in Mario Kart.
Well, when you busted it out, it was just and at first seen, I was like, wow, I really wish we had that as a kid. Man, that would have been great to be able to play all of our favorite Super Nintendo games handheld, because I think by that, I don't know when that machine came out. Was it?
It's been out for a while, and I think you can just find it on just random websites that sell it. But the appeal for it to me was that it fit regular Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, and then it also has an attachment where you can fit Sega games in it too. But I don't have any Sega games, so
yeah, we never. Yeah, that was.
I was a Nintendo
system.
Person, not a Sega person.
That was the one system that I don't think my parents ever, that and the Dreamcast. I remember I wanted the Dreamcast so bad because it had that one Knight game. I think it was called Knight. And then Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Oh my God. But they didn't, of course we didn't get that. So let me ask you this, between the PS2 and Super Nintendo, who wins?
Gosh, you put me on the spot. Super Nintendo. Probably, even though I still have both consoles, I refuse to give them up. I will keep them. I feel like I want to have them on display at some point. But I think just for, I don't know, I'm going back and forth because then Splinter Cell franchise is on PS2 as well. And then I'm going to go Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Just for that simple fact of nostalgia. It reminds me of when I was a kid with my brother and my cousin, and we'd, just sit in front of the TV for hours and play that console over and over again.
I probably got to go PlayStation, because by the time the PlayStation came out, all of us were old enough to play games, and there's just a lot of memories I have of all of us playing, or Pops going to Blockbuster, renting a game, and then every week was someone else's turn to play a different game, and it just blew my mind, all those graphics. To me, it was like, oh my God, we were up to date for once. Oh my God, we got a PlayStation when everyone else has a PlayStation. Super Nintendo. it was primarily just us watching my dad play. So there wasn't much of that connection, even though we did, have our games on there.
Well, see, my parents were gamers, big gamers at the time, so they were the ones that sort of pioneered getting the regular Nintendo. We had some consoles, we had the Pong system, the one that you plug into your television and you play Pong with like the ball shape, and it has the little knob on it for you to play. So we had that. I remember being like 4 years old and playing that, and then my parents would eventually go on to buy the regular Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. We would rent games from Blockbuster. We rented Virtual Boy, and then we moved into the PlayStation realm, and that was essentially the end of it. But I recently bought my dad the Super Nintendo Classic, and he straight up told me, he's like, I don't need to play anything else for the rest of my life. This is all I need.
And I remember you telling me that he beat Ghouls and Ghosts again?
Yes. He's beaten Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and we've played that as adults several times, and it's one of the more frustrating games because it doesn't save your game progress unless
at all. It is so unrelenting.
We even tried to cheat. I think that we got the extra lives and we made it super easy, and we still couldn't get past level 2.
Yeah, and it definitely exposed how trash I am. I was like, man, she is carrying this team a lot. I am not helping out. I've wasted 4 of our 10 lives. And oh my God, yeah. And I know one other thing that you've primarily been focusing on is you've been working like crazy on your business, and I guess I want to hear from you on the mic is how are you approaching prioritizing things to ensure a good balance between work and play?
It's really tough right now because there's almost like a sense of guilt that you do have work when so many other people are out of work. So I just feel like I'm a workaholic already, but in addition to that, I feel like I almost owe it to myself to take care of these extra requests, these extra client demands. My business, Brumley Brands and DigitalDispatch.io, these are companies that I help other companies with their IT, web development, things like that, their needs, and it's a growing concern now, and it's a growing need. So I feel bad that I can't say no to anyone else because of that guilt factor, but also because I don't know how long the demand is going to last. So I've been admittedly working more than I would like to, but when I do find those times to step away, we live in a really great neighborhood, Springfield, and it's wonderful to be able to walk around the neighborhood, to be able to go, on the porch and be able to hang out there for a little bit and just, sort of get a break from work, because when you do work from home, it's tough to balance when you're off. It doesn't feel like you're ever off. And then there's also, you got to play in that guilt factor too of is this work going to continue to keep going? And I don't really have any answers. I don't think anybody knows where the industries are going to go. I just know that I have to keep finding ways to say yes to the people who want me to work for them.
I spoke with Darby earlier today. And, she just launched, or she just opened and started really operating Darby's Dungeon recently.
And she's been working on that for so long.
Yeah, she said, I didn't know that. So she said that they've been operating since April of last year, but have only opened to the public, November, December timeframe. And then, of course, this shit happens, which is, of course, less than ideal. So it was interesting to hear how she's been approaching it, really leaning on the community and whatnot. So she had some really good advice, and hearing her experience, I think a lot of people listening that are in that same position could probably glean a couple things. But I want to ask you, do you have any key advice that you'd like to share to entrepreneurs during these times that might help them with their time and stress management?
I would say, as far as stress management, I've been really focusing on just focused work, trying to stay off social media, trying to avoid that constant news cycle. I also use this Chrome browser add-on that's called the Pomodoro Marinara. And you just add it onto Chrome, and it's the Pomodoro method, which makes you work in blocks of time. So for 25 minutes, you work straight, and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you do that 3 times in a row before you take a long break. So I've been trying to incorporate that into my work schedule to where I can get something done and get focused work done. So maybe that could help somebody out there who's just struggling with, trying to get quality work done. Because I think it's really easy to be home and to be distracted not just with things that are going on in the home, but also from the internet and just the constant news cycle. So I think that that's helped me a ton. Also, working out at home, I don't know where I would be mentally if I didn't have just a little bit of equipment that I could use instead of going to the gym, and all the gyms are closed anyways, but being able to work out at home, that has been a huge mental break as well, and forcing myself to do that. And you've helped as well, making me take bike rides and walks around the block. And I think it's helpful to have someone else in the house to make you take a break as well, because you can get just so overwhelmed with what you got going on, and worrying about what the future has to hold. So I think that the best case situation is just to control what you can control right now, and just see how the cards are going to fall in this new normal that we're all going to find ourselves in.
Well said, agreed, and you're welcome.
A little pat on the back. You paid me to say that.
All right. Go ahead. We're going to sign out with this because you are my go-to Disney correspondent. Go ahead and give me one Disney-related champion, something that you want to champion from Disney that people listening should check out.
Ooh, Onward. That movie hit me right in the feels.
I have it on my list of champion. Next time that we do a champion, that's definitely going. That was so good.
I didn't expect to really love a movie like that, especially with like a Disney Pixar movie. It's like, okay, like it serves its entertainment purpose, but that one had me in tears the whole second half of the movie. And it's just, I think it's a really great movie, especially during this time where it sort of signifies the importance of family and working together and, all that. And it helps that it's, it's a Pixar movie too. And it talks about like magical quests and things like that.
And big shout out to Tom Holland and Chris Pratt's performance. Like, I believe they were like brothers. Like, there was some brotherly love, but just from their voice acting alone.
They're saying that the baton has been passed from Robert Downey Jr. to Chris Pratt now.
Huh. Damn,
that's the new idol for Tom Holland.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing those things, and of course having me watch Onward, because it's so good.
Hit you right in the feels.
It did. How about we go ahead and get on the couch and play some Jack 2? I'm going to go ahead and sign off this show. And, of course, thank all of our Shortbox patrons that hopped on the mics, on the calls with us today to make this episode happen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as well. Like I said, I think for sure I'll be doing a part 2 sometime here in the near future. So if you're a Shortbox patron, I'll have those time slots out there real soon. And if you're listening, man, and you're like, man, I want to be a part of this Shortbox hotline next time they do it, consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/theshortbox. Check out some of the tiers that we have available. Your contributions help us keep the lights on here at Shortbox Studios. It helps us put these episodes out and make awesome things happen here at the Shortbox. We are probably going to have another episode here in the next week. I'll figure something out. Of course, with everything going on, it's been a little challenging, but we'll keep the Shortbox train going because we love you guys and want to thank all of you for your support and patronage and just for tuning in. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Peace.
Yo, what happened to peace? Peace.